Periscope style camera systems have so far been seen in flagship expensive Android smartphones. But with the X3 SuperZoom starting at just 27,999 rupees, Realme wants to bring this technology to a much wider audience. So should you buy the brand new Realme X3 SuperZoom instead of other phones like the X2 Pro or even the OnePlus 7T? Let's find out. Now before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also hit that bell icon so you're the first to know whenever we have a new video. Now let's not waste any time and let's get straight to the cameras. The Realme X3 SuperZoom features an 8-megapixel periscope style camera which allows it to achieve a claimed 5x optical zoom. The other cameras include a primary one with a 64-megapixel sensor, a wide-angle camera and a macro camera. Naturally, I had to compare the image quality against some of the best smartphones I could get my hands on, namely the OnePlus 8 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. Now at 5x zoom, the image quality from the X3 SuperZoom is quite impressive. This phone managed to capture better details than the 8 Pro and the S20 Plus, which does say a lot. Moving to 10x magnification, the Galaxy S20 Plus caught up, but the X3 SuperZoom continued to produce a clean image with good details, nudging past the OnePlus 8 Pro. At 20x zoom, we see that the Galaxy S20 Plus has the cleanest image, but due to aggressive denoising, it also flattens most textures. The OnePlus 8 Pro prioritizes details over noise, which is why the shot looks a bit grainy, but edges do look sharper. The shot taken with the X3 SuperZoom falls somewhere in between as it does a decent job of cleaning noise, but also crushes details in the shadows. At 30x, the quality of photos taken by all three phones takes a turn for the worse, but the OnePlus 8 Pro manages slightly better details. The X3 SuperZoom can keep going all the way up to 60x, and as you can see, image quality suffers quite a bit. However, considering the price difference between the X3 SuperZoom and the ones from OnePlus and Samsung, it's still an impressive performance overall. In low light, the telephoto camera captures poorer details unless you use one of the night modes. Tripod mode is a very handy feature, and I managed to capture some good looking landscapes at dusk using this. It can be used with the main, wide angle and telephoto cameras. Night mode works with the wide angle camera too, which helps capture better details. The main camera surprisingly didn't manage very good quality low light images without night mode. In auto mode, textures generally looked blurry and grainy and edges were poorly defined. Night mode helped fix this, but there's still plenty of scope for improvement. Now the main sensor really shines when shooting during the day. Details and colors are generally good, and even the wide angle camera manages to keep up. Close-up shots in daylight also look pretty good, with plenty of details and vibrant colors. The macro camera works decently well provided there's good amount of light when shooting. Even without a dedicated depth sensor, portrait shots looked good with fairly accurate edge detection. For selfies, you get two cameras embedded in the display and you can see the specs on the screen now. Selfies are good when shooting in daylight, although HDR can be a bit of a hit or miss with the main camera. The wide-angle camera is useful, and I did find the HDR shots to be more consistent with this sensor. Image details are generally weak in low light, but you can use night mode for both selfie cameras, which does help a bit. Now let's take a look at video. The Realme X3 SuperZoom can shoot up to 4K at 60 FPS. Now you can switch between the main wide angle and telephoto cameras provided you are shooting at 1080p. At 4K, colors look quite exaggerated but not so much at 1080p resolution. Stabilization is good during the day, but in low light, video is grainy and your footsteps can cause annoying shakes in the video. Overall, I think the telephoto camera in the Realme X3 SuperZoom is very good provided you're shooting in daylight and at a reasonable magnification level. I like the expanded nightscape modes too, which I think are very useful. However, without night mode, I found that the cameras seem to really struggle in low light photos as well as video. Now let's talk about performance. I'm happy to report that the X3 SuperZoom feels speedy in use thanks to the Snapdragon 855 Plus processor. Now I'm using the top-end variant with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. You can use two nano SIM cards at the same time, but there's still no microSD card slot. Apart from these solid core specifications, the other reason for this snappy feel is the 120Hz LCD display. The 6.6-inch Full HD Plus LCD panel is quite good with strong colors. However, I would have preferred a slower 90Hz AMOLED display with brighter colors and better contrast at lower brightness levels like you get in the Realme X2 Pro. Now, one of the things you forfeit with an LCD panel is of course the in-display fingerprint sensor. The X3 SuperZoom has a capacitive sensor in the power button on the right, which works well with just a light tap. There's face recognition too, which is equally quick. Another useful feature that the Realme X2 Pro has but is missing here are stereo speakers. The X3 SuperZoom has to make do with a single bottom-firing speaker. Now it gets loud and there's Dolby Atmos too, but the experience isn't as immersive as I would have liked. Realme UI based on Android 10 runs very well on the X3 SuperZoom. I noticed the same useful customizations and shortcuts that we've been seeing in other recent Realme phones, plus a system-wide dark mode. Gaming performance is excellent. The X3 SuperZoom can easily handle demanding games from the Google Play Store. Now the body of this phone gets a little warm after prolonged gameplay, but I never found it too hot to handle. Realme says it has used a vapor cooling system which seems pretty effective. Battery life was solid, and even with heavy usage, I was comfortably able to use the X3 SuperZoom for an entire day before needing to charge it. The 4200 mAh battery also did well in our HD video loop test, lasting for more than 21 hours. You get a 30-watt fast charger in the box which manages to fill the battery in little under an hour. From a design standpoint, there's not much to talk about as it's similar to what we've seen from recent Realme phones. The X3 SuperZoom comes in two colors, Arctic White and Glacier Blue, of which I have the former. The curved glass back feels great to touch thanks to its smooth matte finish. Overall, the device feels very sturdy, and even though the X3 SuperZoom is slightly big and hefty, it's still comfortable to use. If you made it this far, then you probably know by now that the Realme X3 SuperZoom is indeed a good all-rounder. Some of this phone's strong points include the smooth display, excellent battery life, strong performance, and the impressive telephoto camera. Low light camera performance on the other hand is still a bit weak, and I really do miss having stereo speakers. If a telephoto camera with a high zoom range is higher priority for you, then I think the X3 SuperZoom is the obvious choice here. On the other hand, if you find yourself watching more videos rather than clicking photos, then I still think the X2 Pro from Realme and even the OnePlus 7T are still great choices. So thanks for watching our review of the Realme X3 SuperZoom, and for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.